I never thought my sister's wedding would end with me being labeled as the family troublemaker, but here we are. Let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in suburban Massachusetts, Ellie and I were always different. She was the golden child, straight-A student, homecoming queen, and now a successful attorney. I, on the other hand, was the artistic one, always struggling to find my place. Our parents never tried to hide their preference, and over the years, the distance between us grew. When Ellie announced her engagement to James, a charming surgeon from a wealthy Boston family, I was genuinely happy for her. Despite our differences, she was still my sister. I received my invitation 3 months before the wedding, a beautiful cream-colored envelope with gold lettering. Inside was a handwritten note from Ellie. "Hope you can make it, Melissa. It would mean a lot." Those simple words rekindled something in me. Maybe this was our chance to reconnect. I spent weeks finding the perfect dress, a forest green silk, that complemented my auburn hair, and even splurged on having my hair and makeup professionally done. I wanted to show Ellie and our parents that I had my life together too, even if it didn't fit their definition of success. The wedding was held at the Hawthorne Estate, a stunning historic venue overlooking the Atlantic. Everything was picture perfect, white, roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers, and a string quartet playing softly in the background. As I walked through the immaculately decorated hallway toward the bridal suite, I felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "Melissa, you made it!" My mother's voice carried that familiar note of surprise, as if she half expected me not to show up. "Of course I did, Mom. It's Ellie's big day." I leaned in for a hug, which she returned stiffly. The bridal suite was buzzing with activity. Bridesmaids adjusting their dresses, the makeup artist touching up Ellie's already flawless face, and my mother directing everyone like a general commanding troops. "You look beautiful," I told Ellie, and I meant it. In her custom Vera Wang gown, she was radiant. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks, I'm glad you could make it." The words were the same as in her note, but the tone was different, cooler, more distant. I brushed it off as pre-wedding jitters and offered to help with anything needed. My mother quickly assigned me to take some items to the reception area, clearly wanting me out of the way. As I gathered the items, a guest book, some framed photos, and a small decorative box, I couldn't help but feel like an outsider in my own family. While arranging the items on the designated table, I accidentally knocked over the decorative box. Several envelopes spilled out, sealed cards with guests' names written on them. As I hurriedly picked them up, I noticed one with my name. Curious, I opened it, assuming it was my table assignment or perhaps a special note from Ellie. What I read made my blood run cold. "Melissa, I invited you only because Mom insisted. Let's be clear, you're not welcome here. Stay away from James's family and friends. They don't need to know about my embarrassment of a sister. Just smile for the photos, then leave early. Don't make a scene like you always do. Ellie." I read it 3 times, unable to process the cruel words from my own sister on what should have been one of the happiest days of her life. Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Instead, a slow-burning anger replaced my initial shock. Without thinking it through, I pulled out my phone, took a photo of the note, and posted it to Facebook with the caption, "The real face of the perfect bride. Apparently blood isn't thicker than social status. Family values, wedding drama within." Minutes. My phone started buzzing with notifications. Friends expressing outrage on my behalf, distant relatives asking if I was okay, and even some of Ellie's friends messaging me privately to say they were shocked by her behavior. I put my phone away and returned to the ceremony, sitting in the back row. Throughout the vows, I couldn't focus on anything except the words in that note. As Ellie and James sealed their union with a kiss, applause erupted around me. I clapped mechanically, feeling completely detached from the celebration. At the reception, I could feel eyes on me. Word had spread quickly, as it always does in the age of social media. My mother cornered me by the bathroom, her face flushed with anger. "What have you done?" she hissed. "How could you embarrass your sister like this on her wedding day?" "Me? Did you read what she wrote to me? Did you know about this?" I demanded. Those notes were private messages for specific guests who might cause problems. She just wanted everything to be perfect today. "And now you've ruined it." My mother's words confirmed what I had suspected. They had all seen me as a potential problem all along. So I'm a problem now? For what? Not becoming a lawyer? Not marrying rich? My voice was rising, drawing attention from nearby guests. "Keep your voice down," my mother warned. This is exactly why Ellie was concerned. Before I could respond, my father appeared. "Both of you, outside, now." The cool evening air did nothing to calm the heat of our argument as we stood on the terrace, overlooking the estate's gardens. The string lights twinkled above us, a stark contrast to the darkness I felt inside. "I cannot believe you would air family business on social media," my father said, his voice low but trembling with anger. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Did either of you read the note?" I asked, pulling up the photo on my phone and thrusting it toward them. "Did you know Ellie only invited me because you insisted, Mom? That she called me an embarrassment?" My mother's eyes briefly scanned the screen before looking away. "You weren't supposed to see that. Those notes were only to be opened if certain guests became difficult. So I was preemptively labeled as difficult, before I even did anything. The realization was like a punch to the gut. You know what? I'm done. I've spent my entire life trying to earn your approval, and clearly, it's never going to happen." I turned to walk away, but my father grabbed my arm. "Melissa, wait. You need to take down that post and apologize to your sister." I yanked my arm free. "No. For once, I'm not going to pretend everything is fine when it's not. Ellie can have her perfect day with her perfect husband and her perfect friends. I don't belong here. You've all made that abundantly clear." As I walked back inside to gather my things, I passed James, who gave me a confused look. He had no idea about the drama unfolding on what should have been the happiest day of his life, too. I felt a twinge of guilt. He had always been kind to me, and he didn't deserve to be caught in the middle of our family mess. "Everything okay?" he asked, genuine concern in his voice. "Ask your wife," I replied, unable to meet his eyes. "Congratulations, James. I hope you'll be very happy together." I slipped out of the reception without saying goodbye to anyone else. The Uber ride back to my hotel was a blur of tears and anger. My phone continued to buzz incessantly, but I ignored it, unable to face the digital storm I had created. Back in my hotel room, I finally looked at my phone. The post had exploded. Hundreds of comments, shares, and messages. Some supported me, calling out Ellie's behavior as cruel and elitist. Others condemned me for publicly shaming my sister on her wedding day. Family members from both sides were weighing in, taking sides and fanning the flames. What had I done? In my hurt and anger, I had escalated a private family matter into a public spectacle. Yet part of me felt justified. Years of being treated as less than had finally boiled over. But was this really the way to address it? I barely slept that night, tossing and turning as I replayed the events in my mind. By morning, my Facebook post had been shared over 1,000 times. I had text messages from childhood friends, college roommates, and even my boss asking if I was okay. The wedding had become secondary to the drama I had ignited. 3 days passed, and I returned to my apartment in New York, throwing myself into work to avoid thinking about the fallout. No one from my immediate family had contacted me. Not my parents, not Ellie. The silence was deafening. Then, on the 4th day, as I was heading to lunch, my phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello?" I answered cautiously, Melissa, it's James. My brother-in-law's voice was the last one I expected to hear. James, why are you calling me? Shouldn't you be on your honeymoon? He sighed heavily. We postponed it. Things have been complicated since the wedding. Guilt washed over me. I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of this. That's actually why I'm calling. I think there's more to this story than you know. Can we meet? I'm in the city for a medical conference. Curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop near my office. When I arrived, James was already there, looking tired and stressed. A far cry from the beaming groom I had seen less than a week ago. Thanks for coming, he said, pushing a cup of coffee toward me. Exactly how I liked it, with oat milk and cinnamon. I was surprised he remembered from the few times we had met before. What's going on, James? Why are you here instead of Ellie? He looked down at his own coffee. Ellie doesn't know I'm meeting you. After what happened, she's not in a good place. Because of my post? Or because everyone now knows how she really feels about me? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. Melissa, that note. It wasn't from Ellie. I stared at James, his words not quite registering. What do you mean it wasn't from Ellie? It had her signature. It was in her handwriting. James ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd seen Ellie do countless times when she was stressed. The handwriting was similar, but it wasn't hers. We think it was your mother's. My mother? I repeated incredulously. Why would she do that? From what I've pieced together, your mother was worried about family dynamics overshadowing the wedding. She wrote those notes to several guests, not just you, as a sort of insurance policy. He looked uncomfortable saying it out loud. If anyone caused problems, the wedding planner was instructed to slip them their note. And my mother decided I was a problem before I even arrived. The realization was bitter, but not entirely surprising. James nodded grimly. The box wasn't supposed to be accessible to guests. When Ellie found out what happened, she confronted your mother. It wasn't pretty. I tried to process this new information. If what James was saying was true, Ellie hadn't written that cruel note. Our mother had, in some misguided attempt, to control the wedding day. Why would Mom do this? And why pretend it was from Ellie? My voice cracked slightly. Your mother has always been protective of Ellie, often at your expense. She admitted she thought you'd be more likely to comply if you believed the request came from your sister. James looked genuinely pained as he related this information. And now Ellie knows? Yes. She's devastated, Melissa, not just about the note, but about your relationship with your mother, the public fallout from your post, all of it. She had no idea you felt so excluded from the family. I felt a complex mix of emotions, relief that Ellie hadn't written those hurtful words, anger at my mother for her manipulation, and shame for reacting so impulsively without confirming the truth. I should have known, I said quietly. Ellie, and I may have our differences, but she's never been deliberately cruel. James reached across the table and squeezed my hand. She wants to talk to you, but she's afraid you won't believe her. That's why I came, as a neutral party. Will you at least hear her out? After a moment's hesitation, I nodded. James made a call, and 20 minutes later, Ellie walked into the coffee shop. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her usually immaculate appearance slightly disheveled. When she saw me, she froze, uncertainty written across her face. I stood up, and, without a word, we moved toward each other and embraced. It wasn't a fix for years of complicated family dynamics, but it was a start. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I had no idea Mom did that. I would never have said those things about you. I should have talked to you before posting that photo, I admitted. I was hurt and angry, and I lashed out. We sat down, and over the next hour, Ellie revealed more about our mother's behavior, how she had always pitted us against each other, subtly encouraging competition rather than sisterhood. James excused himself after a while, giving us space to talk openly. "What happens now?" I asked as our conversation wound down. "The damage is done. Everyone saw that post." Ellie took a deep breath. "I think it's time for both of us to set some boundaries with Mom and Dad. And maybe we could try to rebuild our relationship. Just the two of us?" "I'd like that," I said sincerely. That evening, I posted a follow-up on Facebook. "Update on the wedding note situation. I've learned some hard truths about family dynamics and the danger of reacting in anger. The note wasn't from my sister. It was from someone else trying to create division between us. Ellie and I are working through this privately. Thank you for your support, but please respect our family's privacy as we heal from this. Lessons learned. Family is complicated." The weeks that followed were difficult. My parents refused to acknowledge my mother's role in the wedding drama, insisting she had only been trying to ensure a perfect day for Ellie. Our family gatherings became tense affairs, with unspoken resentments bubbling beneath polite conversation. But something unexpected emerged from the ashes of that wedding day disaster. A genuine friendship between Ellie and me. We began meeting regularly, just the two of us, discovering that beneath the years of rivalry fostered by our parents, we actually had much in common. 3 months after the wedding, Ellie called me with news. "James and I are finally going on our honeymoon next month," she said. "And I was wondering, when we get back, would you consider being my roommate for a weekend art retreat in Vermont? I know it's your thing, not mine, but I'd like to understand your world better." Tears sprang to my eyes at this olive branch. "I'd love that, Ellie." As I hung up the phone, I reflected on how a moment of public humiliation had ultimately led to private healing. The note I found at the wedding wasn't welcoming, but it had forced open doors that had long been closed between my sister and me. Sometimes family is about finding your way back to each other, even when the path is rocky and strewn with the debris of past hurts. Ellie and I were finally writing our own story, not the one our parents had scripted for us, and for the first time in years I felt truly welcome.